much less swollen today. Mostly because my body did like some kind of water dump last night after that weather passed through. Oh my gosh, I was so sick. It was a rough night. Bad weather night, but it was just a rough health night. Maybe someday I will have a day where I feel good for more than an hour or two. The last few weeks have not been conducive to that. But anyway, strike that. What I came on here to say is just pointing out some of the funny things that you notice. Because, hi Pocahontas, because if you ever get on the internet, on social media, and you say anything, hi Megan, if you say anything out of love, compassion, understanding, or an educational knowledge and a functional career background, like I have from being a retired parole officer that supervised murders and was trained to look at body cues, nonverbal communication, look for deception. I spent so much time in courtroom trials and in prosecuting parole warrants myself because lawyers handle the probation crap, and we get to handle with that in the courtroom a little bit. But for a parole hearing, which I was a parole officer, we did it all ourselves. Okay, y'all. So I've handled a lot. Then I canceled teens in state's custody who were removed because they were not functioning. They were not conducive to society due to backgrounds in violence, drugs, and trauma. So it's not like I'm coming at this as a 14-year-old pubescent teenager, like cheesing on somebody. I'm fixing to be 45 and very well rounded, have my master's in psychology. And I'm only speaking on actual words that Ryan said or actual behaviors that you can go watch for yourself. And I've actually found the clip where he speaks about the question about the drug use. And I'll make that into a little short and I'll post that later. Unfortunately, whoever clipped it right before he got up and swiped his face, but that's fine. You still see a lot of the adapters in his behavior. So when he's looking at the screen, he's talking about THC and he's talking about shrooms. He's very self-assured. And then he starts getting a lot of stress up here, a lot of stress right here. And before he says, and I like to do Adderall in the studio, he cuts those eyes. He's not looking at you anymore. And he puts his head down and he cuts away. So he's got some kind of unfinished emotional ick attached to that. He was not happy about that. He told it, but he was not happy about that. And there's something there that's not jiving well with that statement. So I think he's probably not proud to say that. Now, am I saying that he does drugs and is going to be needs to go to rehab? And no. Like I said yesterday, I don't know. I don't know if these are prescribed. I mean, the shrooms, obviously, and the THC. But the thing that worried me the most was when he said that with the behaviors with the Adderall. That concerned me. And I don't know if he's prescribed that or not. I don't have a clue. But it concerns me, the mannerisms and the body adapter movements that he used when he stated that. That's what concerned me. And then everybody's like, I do, Libby Cats. I notice things unintentionally, and I don't like. Sometimes I'm like, oh crap, why did I look? And in public, I do that a lot. I'm like, stop looking, because I don't want to know people's business. I don't. Place like for a decade, all I did was know way too much about way too many people that I ultimately could only help maybe 30% of. And it was just a struggle. It was an emotional career. It was not something that I struggled every morning going to work. And hi, Enlightened Watcher. I struggled. Hi, Juicy. I would literally struggle every morning going to work. And I would spend like an hour and a half driving because I worked a 6-county rotation for the state. And I would just go to work and I would pray the entire way to work that I would just be able to help somebody. Brenda, I'm feeling a little bit better. I had a huge migraine and like huge water. My body just shed a lot of water after that system moved through last night, and I didn't feel good this morning, but I'm perking up this evening, so I'm hoping I'm through whatever I've had or whatever that was, because it was unpleasant. But I genuinely wanted to help people. That's why I got into the careers I got into, and I wanted to be able to reach people and not just be an authority figure. I didn't really enjoy authority. I don't like authority figures. I don't like the way that authority plays out. I don't like the way authority is playing out in our lovely little nation right now. I think that authority can be a catch up sometimes. Hi, Jessica. But what I really think is that we need people that have the hearts to help in those specific jobs. And that's why I went into that job field, is because number one, I was not scared of people. I was a big old brood of a hoss of a girl. And I wasn't scared of people. Hi, Priscilla. And I was wanting to help. I knew enough about the subject matter and had worked with teenagers. Then I went into adults, and then I came back and worked with teenagers at the end of my career again. And it's just, we've got to talk about this. Sheepdog, I like your name. Everybody has their flaws, and doctors love handing them out. Oh my gosh, do they? I would get in trouble for not trying to put them in more programs because, hey, we can bill for that. And I'd be like, hey, that would be too much for them to have on their plate, which would cause them to fail, which means they would think they're a failure and they would stop trying. I'm not putting them in that program. And then we'd be like, well, we're writing you up for costing our facility this much money. And I'm like, you can do that, and I will file an ethical violation. So doctors are pains in the butts. The one thing I hated about the two careers I had, the one thing I hated about it was the upper management with the Department of Corrections were absolute lunatics. They were the closest to psychopathy I've ever seen in my life. And y'all, I spent time in the prisons with the prisoners. That should make you worry. And the people that worked with the people in the mental health field, if you were CMS, if you took Medicare, Medicaid, then you were to milk that patient like a Guernsey. No, that's a person. You handle what needs to be handled at the rate the person can handle it for the person, so for their benefit. I'm here for that person, not for your company to make money. That doesn't weigh into my obligations as a clinician for this individual. I bill appropriately for the services that I offer, but I'm not going to put them in 5 programs so you can bleed them dry, screw them up, put so much on their plate they can't finish it, make them feel like a failure, and then they can never move forward. They'll never get their kids back. They'll never get off probation, because if they can't do their counseling and their IOP and their separate individual drug counseling on top of the group counseling, it's like that's too much. Because then they'll violate the probation if they can't get it all done. If they violate the probation, well, then they go back to jail. And if they go back to jail, well, DCS still has their kids. It's like, how bad do you want people to fail? Oh, it was all about money. It was all about money. And when you go in prison systems for your family to call you, that you have to buy money and put it. When I was an officer, you had to buy money and put it on a JPay card. And you could call somebody across the world cheaper than you can call and talk to your loved one in this nation in any correctional facility. It was stupid. It was stupid. It was very stupid. And if I had a good quarter where I had more people successful, they would go, why are your recidivism numbers not on point? Because your recidivism numbers are an average of what you saw over 25 years. I'm never going to be right on point, because an officer is supposed to have 60 to 90 clients, and I had 547 last month. It's like, open your eyes, you stupid people. But yeah, there's a lot wrong with establishments and the rules that are in control of help and aiding people. And I could talk for 10 years on that. But one of the biggest things that's wrong, and if you go back and watch last night, my video from last night and you watch as the comments pop up and you go and read the comments that have been placed there now, is that people cannot stand to give anyone else any credit. Like none whatsoever. If you look at what I said, if you watch the entire thing, Brian does not owe us fans crap. Matter of fact, I wish he would stop and just do for him for a while and take care of himself. He doesn't owe us anything. I think he does better the quieter he keeps his relationships. I think they need to be held closer to him, like I said. I think they need to be quieter. The quieter they are, the better they are. As a public figure and as someone that's in the public stage and on stage for people, you know, to make his livelihood, it's almost impossible for him to split the persona and the person. And I get that. It's difficult. But he also volunteers information. And when I try to talk about Ron, I only try to really address what he volunteers, because speculation is a nasty little habit that stupid people use to make themselves feel better. So I try to only show you actual words that he says or actual behaviors. And then I will talk about the psychology of them. And that's what I try to do for you, because if you want to chase a rabbit that's running in circles all day, you go right ahead. I'm not going to. That's a waste of my energy. But I was uncomfortable with the things that I saw and the words that he chose to say and the body movements that went with them. And I was uncomfortable because now I have seen 5 repetitious cycle, almost identical relationships that have ended in roughly the same manner. And now if you look at his Instagram, he is deflecting, distracting, and going back and, he pumps up the fun for a while, distracts himself, and goes on. And Sheepdog, I never recommended any medications for children, ever, because ethically, I don't think you should. There are a lot of laws in there and a lot of age gaps and a lot of indicators, and there's just a lot of checks that have to be marked before you can do certain things in treatment. And so if I saw certain behaviors, I would have to send them on to a psychologist for medication referrals. And unless it was something that I knew I could not handle in a counseling setup, then no, we were not seeking a medication route unless we failed at a counseling setup. And then I would refer them on and educate the parents as well as the youth. But what we have created in this nation is everyone, because of this stupid box, everyone talks to each other over this stupid box. And they don't interact physically with people. So they don't read body language anymore. They don't feel physical energy attachments from people they're discussing things with. They don't feel true interaction, attachment, engagement. We've got 2 generations that don't know what it's like to sit and have to catch up with your friends on the weekend at a tree fort or a picnic table in a park or, something like that. Because everybody's in the stupid internet. And so they think that, whatever they see on here, if they see it once, then they say that's normal. Well, no, honey, you can see something 500,000 times, but if it's abnormal, it's abnormal. Seeing it multiple times just means it's being repeated by a lot of people, but it's still abnormal. And it's like we've stopped talking about the things we need to talk about. Like if I got on here and been like, and oh my God, he was like looking so fine today, they would have been like, girl, yes he was. And even when he said, he used Addy in the studio, I was like, heck yes. I would have gotten so many people going, oh yeah, that's a stimulant. That helps people so much. If I had said that, I would have people jump on and be like, that's so cool. That's so this is that. No, it's not cool. It's not cool. Now, there are legal necessary reasons that have a medical basis for why you need Adderall. But if you misuse them, then you're not using them for the medically necessary purpose, and it's misuse. So you just have to be honest about this. You just really have to be honest. And that's a problem. That's a problem. That shows a strain somewhere, a breakdown in his creative process that he's trying to patch with this substance, and if he is prescribed it and he's using it as prescribed, that's fine. But the way he stated it with the body markers and the nonverbal communication adapters that he showed, he was uncomfortable stating that in stress mode, cut away, did not want to look you in the eye, had an emotional, something that was icky about it, and didn't want to say it. That concerned me. And that's all I said. That concerned me. And people are so mad. You shouldn't go around spreading lies about Ryan. You can literally go and watch the words that I said he said and watch the behaviors that I said he did. I'm not making up anything on the boy. I'm concerned. And I get so tickled. I get so tickled with the level of concern from Creek Squad right now. I've seen 12-year-olds care for sea monkeys more. Let's just be honest. Oh, it's Brenda, the video, and I'm actually, I found somebody that got a cut of it, and I screen recorded it. They cut it right before he got up and swiped his face, but that's fine. His whole body, through that whole video, his body language was off through that whole video. But I'm going to upload it as a short after I get done with this. So you'll be able to see the words that he said on his Instagram Live. And the body movements that I'm speaking about. So I'll put that on as a short as soon as I get done with this. Well, Sheepdog, if it's prescribed to him and he's using it as prescribed, then there's no problem with it whatsoever. There's no problem with it whatsoever. But if it's not prescribed, or he's using it not as labeled or not as intended by his medical provider, then there's a problem. And, and it's just, for me, I've always heard Ryan say, I've never had writer's block. I've never had writer's block. I've never had writer's block. Okay, that's great. You've never had writer's block. But then he comes out and says, and I like to use Adderall in the studio. It's a stimulant. Now, I understand why he may be prescribed that, but I don't understand why he would only use it in the studio, because that would not be a label use. That would not be a medical use. You would, to benefit him and the ADHD, you would have to use it at certain intervals to maintain a certain level in the body stream for the intended function and use. So it's like, are we using it as it's appropriately supposed to be used? That's my concern, because it's a slippery slope from there to, oh shit, we're in trouble now. And that was the thing that hit me, because after supervising so many, violent offenders and drug offenders and stuff, it's such a, it's like a 2-second, you blinked and boom, now they're on, doing something that's can't be repaired, and you have to be so careful. Yeah, Leva Katz, the prescription and the prescription, how the prescription is written and how it should be maintained within the body system, that's the key. And if you violate how it's written, the dosage you take or the times you take it, and you go against how the doctor has told you to do that, then you're misusing a prescription. So then you have a problem. And people will fuss, with me about that. And I'm like, no, that is just legal. That's legal. That's like, if you go into the doctor and he had prescribed you however many you needed that month, but you had spent more time in the studio that month, so you came back halfway through the month and said, I need more. And he was like, whoa, that was a dosage to keep your levels stable for, the entire month. Where did it go? I was in the studio more. I needed more help. The doctor would say, that's not what this medication is for. And if you augment the levels or you don't stay at a therapeutic level, you are misusing the medication. And that's just the truth. And people get so mad because it's the truth, And if he's prescribed it and he needs it for the focus because of the ADHD, that's fine. And he uses it as prescribed, that's fine. But he didn't answer those questions. But he did a little grin afterwards that told me pretty much all I needed to know. But I certainly hope he's using it. If it's prescribed, he's using it as prescribed. But I don't know. And so it concerned me. And so I spoke about it. And, and it's, people are all the time, well, Sheepdog, that's where you have to, maybe, but it's his choice. It's not. When you get into drugs and you get into medically provided therapeutic intervention for specific neurological conditions, it's not his choice. It's his physician's choice as to how to treat him for that condition. And if he's not going to use the medication legally or as medically prescribed, then it's a legal issue. It's a legal infraction. And it's so hard for people that have not been in the legal world or in the courtrooms or seen all of this crap up close and worked in this world. It's very difficult for you to understand, I know. But it is such a slippery slope. That is why it worries me so much. That's why it worries me so much. He's at that age and time in his career that he's trying to do bigger, better things to top himself. And, and he sets these goals for himself that are somewhat unattainable. And I'm just like, come on, realistic expectations, You're talented, you're putting out great music, realistic expectations. Do not put too much stress on yourself so that you overburden yourself and you basically, fry yourself well before you need to be done. And I'm just worried. And people are like, oh, you shouldn't be worried. And I'm like, I witnessed behavior that coincided with words. I'm not making anything up. I guess somebody said that Gobble's going crazy and saying a bunch of craziness. I'm not saying craziness. I'm trying to keep it at a straight, like, clinical observation level here, Widians, and just saying that that's my concern. That is my main concern. And to see him now out of this same repetitious cycle that he's been in with these relationships, and now he's off and tattoos, and he's on a endorphin rush dopamine kick right now. He is self-soothing massively right now. He's doing everything that he uses to, like, get himself through hard times right now, which, yay, he has coping mechanisms. But when you have to use your coping mechanisms like this, you're not using them appropriately. Because coping mechanisms should be used so that you don't have to use them as often in life. So it's like, whoa, buddy, we're spinning. We're spinning. We got to be careful here. And so I'm just like, it's really, you got to be careful. You got to be super careful. Nina, it does affect the brain in kind of a similar way. In kind of a similar way. And that's why it's so dangerous, because when you get, when you get above and beyond that therapeutic dose, you really do damage to your brain and to your hormone and chemical panels and into how your brain functions. And what he may see as an age short-lived may be a deficit very soon, because of if he's keeping too much in his system and the damage that it can actually do to the brain. And so it's just something that it concerned me. And I hope he sees this and he knows I'm concerned. And that if he didn't know these things, now he does from someone that has been in that field and worked in that field. But we don't know if that's what he's doing. It's that speculation. No, Sheepdog, he said he was using Adderall in the studio, which would say that he's not using it 24/7, which would say that he's not using it as medically labeled, because using it as medically labeled would be to keep a consistent therapeutic dosage in your body. Because Adderall is one of those things that if you have too little or too much, it can augment its usefulness and your whole perception of the world. It's one of those. You have to be so careful with it. And, you know, and I understand if you've not been around a lot of this and you don't know how much it can affect the brain and how the levels are so important and how fragile they are, you just have to be so careful. And so I am hoping that if he didn't know that, this is something that he will go and ask his doctor about. But from the way he stated that on that video, I'm not sure he's aware. So I'm saying, hey, you said this on public domain. I'm concerned about this. Doesn't sound like it's being used correctly. And, you know, if you didn't know this, now you do. Go talk to your physician. Well, Beth said in the comments he wasn't on drugs, but Ryan just told you 3 that he takes all the time. Only one of which can actually be legally prescribed. So, I mean, if you want me to turn into Judge Wapner, we can, but I mean, the boy stated what he uses. He uses substances. Now, do I have a big issue with THC and shrooms? No, not really. No, not really. I mean, I've seen it lead a lot of people astray, but at the end of the day, you know, in my line of work, we were worried about a lot of the synthetic, recreated, really going to screw you up, kill you before you knew you inhaled it, big street cartel drugs coming down. So that's just how, you know, that's just what I was worried about. But, and when I worked in the clinical side, you know, I had to be, there's a whole nuanced conversation that can be had about Adderall and how great it is if used correctly and how horrible it is if used incorrectly. Well, let's get leave a cast. That's just what I said. There's a whole nuanced thing that can be talked about. Adderall, with how great it is if used correctly and how horrible it is if used incorrectly. And so that's why it's just one of those medications that needs to be spot on for that person and monitored closely by that doctor, because it does affect your brain. Yeah, so he's going for tattoos, and of course I'm covered in tattoos, but it's self-soothing. You know, that's why I get tattoos. I self-soothe. Honey, I'm covered. I get tattoos all the time too. I'm covered. But it's a self-soothing mechanism. So it's just knowing the psychology behind the behaviors is what I'm saying. And I understand that for y'all that don't have a master's in psychology and haven't worked with a lot of criminals and in the court field and with a lot of kids in a clinician-based field, it's hard because you don't understand all the insider training that I have for body language, nonverbal communication, and really reading somebody and understanding why people do the things they do in the way they do them at the times they do them. It's just it's amazing how much I can watch somebody even at a local fair and know exactly the dynamic of what's going on. And it's like, I don't like to go to public events anymore because I can read people and I just don't enjoy it. And, you know, I'll look halfway through an event and my husband will go, we're going to have to move because that lady and that man over there are fixing to blow up and I don't want to be anywhere near them when they blow up. And he'll be like, what? And I'm like, just trust me, we need to move. And we'll move. Get up and move. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, huge fight on the other side over there. He's like, good Lord. And I'm like, I told you it was fixing to happen. So it's just, you know, this is what I the world I had to live in. So, you know, Miss Adams says, I think it's good you're pointing these things out. There are a lot of people that, yeah, they don't see their own patterns and habits. They don't. And how can we, if we are, and let's just be honest, right now, because of this stupid little box and the internet, we don't interact like we used to. We don't see people. We don't see other people. We don't see as much of their lives. And what we do see, it's portrayal. It's not real. It's not them sweeping the floor and cleaning their bathroom and doing the dishes. It's a portrayal of what they think life is like, and it's fiction. And so right now, everyone thinks that everything they do is perfect because they share it as perfect, and they think that's the only real part of life is what they display here. The other stuff is just preparing to portray real life. We've got such a FUBARD couple generations coming up. I'm sorry, it's pathetic. Scares the crap out of me. But right now, every 12 to 25-year-old thinks that they are it. And that's how the world functions. It functions only in the way they see it. And if someone else sees it differently, how can you see it differently? It's right there. They don't understand that. No, nobody's here. Nope, next door. My dog he hears a vehicle and he's like, whoa. But that's because they only see what is being portrayed. And they think the only thing that is real is what they're portraying. And so we've lost a lot of skills in just a couple of generations, just interpersonal communication, interpersonal dialogue, negotiation. We don't do any of these things anymore. He looked away. He cut his eyes. But I found somebody that recorded it, but they didn't catch before he got up and moved his arms, but they caught when he had his chin down and said it and dipped his head and cut his eyes. So I'll do a loop after this and do a short and put it up so that you can watch it, Regina, and see the one, make sure that you're seeing the one that I saw. I hope he's okay, Sheepdog. I really do hope he's okay. But the second thing that I want to talk about is the absolute animosity within the fan base right now is stupid. Like if someone comes on and they're concerned and they do it from a very caring perspective and they state it in a very professional and kind manner, like I'm not going after the boy. I love him. I want to see him do great things. I think the world of him. But I also see things that concern me. And when he says these things out loud and he puts them out in public and they concern me, I'm going to say, this concerns me. And I'm hoping that maybe if he has not become aware that he's in a pattern, in a cycle, maybe somebody will help him become aware. It's great if we can kind of help each other, but the world doesn't like to help each other right now, do we? No, we like to hate each other. We don't like to help each other. So if you say anything in kindness and in aid, oh, you're a horrible person. But if you snap bad on somebody and call them all names and they're trash and they're garbage, that people will come and cheer you on. Our whole society is so screwed up right now. So screwed up. Rosa Sharon says, I think cannabis is a much better option than even opiates if you are in chronic pain. It works for ADHD. I think cannabinoids, because our body works well with cannabinoids, because we're supposed to have cannabinoids within our body. I think that there is huge medical potential if we can get the government to let go of the dead burn patent and allow people to work with it. Another issue from our government. Yay. Yes, I think there's a lot that could be done that could be like be a rainbow of aid over so many different things, and it could just shine over so many problems that people have if they would just allow it to be researched in appropriate manners, and take the patent off of it. You're not supposed to be able to patent, but they did. It's patented. Go look it up. It's patented. Hi, music. Pocahontas, I fall asleep while I'm getting tattoos. But, it's a self-soothing behavior, It's self-soothing. And people that like ink, there is a positive emotion when you go get ink, and that's why you return and go get more. And it's a self-soothing behavior. And it used to be when if I had someone pass away on my caseload, or I'd had a really rough few months or a really bad quarter, I would set up, a really big block of time with my tattoo artist. And sadly, he passed away last year. And he had been the only one to tattoo me for, gosh, 7 or 8 years. And I miss him greatly because he was a very close friend. Haley says, is someone having appropriate training? I worry all the time when I see someone appropriate a drug for a certain use that it isn't prescribed specifically. My God, for. It's a slippery slope that's usually wet. Thank you. Greased like a pig going downhill in pantyhose. Let's say it what it is. Sometimes in trying to gain control of the chaos, we need help from others. But the thing is our society has outlawed help from others. Our government does not want us as a community of interpersonal adults and that are responsible for our droves of children. They want us as isolated people that are segregated and see everyone as a potential issue. You could cause me a potential problem. You're a potential issue for me. Don't you come over here and cause me a problem. Instead of seeing a neighbor or someone that you can bond with, or someone that is in your community that could be, a help in some way. And they want us to see each other as negative as opposed to positive. And we've got to be so careful. We've got to be so careful, because anytime someone's trying to lead you emotionally by the nose, you need to back up and say, why? Why do you want me to feel that way specifically? Because there's a reason they want you to feel that way. It's like people are saying, all these D-trans kids are coming out now. And I've worked with groups like that. And there's about 3% of the population that truly benefit from fully transitioning and living as the other sex. And the ones that benefit from it, they go through intensive long-term care to make sure that every other issue is taken care of, and it's not going to be a band-aid on an open wound, and we're not doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's long-term, multi-clinician, multi-tiered counseling. It's just intense. And so it's about 3% of the population. And in that 3%, you're probably that's heavily going to be the intersexed that have to have normally some kind of surgical intervention even later in life to maintain working conditions and stuff like that. So a lot of sticky scenarios in there. But that means that the 97% of the rest that are going through this are now, there's a big fallout, and we're starting to see a big fallout from, very young kids that were allowed to, kids that can't even get their ears pierced or get a tattoo or drink alcohol, but they were allowed to take off portions of their bodies and augment the chemical composition in their brain. Does it concern anyone? Concerns a crap out of me, because puberty is a hormonal Tasmanian devil. Literally from the years of like 10 to 22, you grow and change so much chemically and neurologically every day. You're a different person. You're growing and changing so quickly, so fast, that you're a different person. You have no idea where you're going to end up, what you're going to end up being interested in, what talents, skills you're going to end up developing. You don't know. It's all this great combination of confetti that is just thrown up in the air, and it falls and creates this wonderful human being. But if you throw the confetti up and then you start picking, you can start to make things go wrong. And so it's imperative, because the brain for most kids, for girls, it's around 22 to 24. For boys, it's around 23 to 25. That's when you finally get the frontal lobe, as social skills are, myelination, and the social skills are firmly there, and we're done. We've grown all we're going to grow, and now we have our structure, and, all our little wooden bridges are now concrete. We're done. And so if you do something before that age, you actually arrest the growth of your brain. and everything that the brain controls. And isn't it odd that almost every person in the trans community, which I have friends in the trans community, I have friends in all communities, you find good people everywhere. But it for me, if the statistics read very, very, very egregious, because in the trans community, almost 100% are on multiple medications. And have multiple diagnoses. Even though when they started out in this journey, they had 1 to 2 diagnoses. After they corrected the issue, they now have 4 to 5 more. And, are on so many medications that they become a pharma consumer for the rest of their life. And, nobody's telling these kids that. Nobody's saying, this is not, you can't repair this. This is not a Lego wall that you can rebuild. It can't be repaired. Once you stop this, you're going to alter how you are ultimately going to finish growing mentally, neurologically, chemically, hormonally, physically. And, so it terrifies me, and now we're seeing 35-year-olds that act like 20-year-olds, and a lot of it is where they've arrested their own development, and some of it needs to be blamed on providers and psychologists for placing too many kids on too many medications, for starting medications before there was really truly a need to, and creating an arrest in the development of that child. And so we're seeing, our age gaps and the behavior in the age gaps are getting really, really, it's getting out there. It's getting real, real bad. Haley says, having a varying opinion from the masses isn't a crime yet. Lots of folks need to realize that and respect that. They do, but did you read the other day in England where a woman was at a closed abortion place, and it was closed, it wasn't even open, and when it's closed, she will go and stand across the street only at the closed ones, and she will quietly pray in her head. All she does is stand there on public access way and pray in her head, and only when they're closed. They arrested her for praying in her head. It was protesting. Had she not said she was praying in her head, they probably wouldn't have done anything. But go read up on that. Go search. Research is a great thing. But yeah, we need to have, Rosa Sharon, it's money. It's all about money. Follow the money, and you will see the destruction of the whole entire world. Yes, I said greased like a pig going downhill in pantyhose. Yeah. You ever try to put pantyhose on a greased pig? It used to be a great thing at a fair that they do at all the country bumpkin fairs. They'd boil up a pig and turn loose kids with pantyhose, and they'd have to put the pantyhose on the pigs. And the first group of kids that won got like $5 each. Yeah, I'm from the country. Brenda, that's exactly what it is. Rosa Sharon, there's so many that are regretting it, and they're finally allowing us to talk about the psychology of the detransitioners now. And so they're starting to allow us to put the information out there as to how it actually affected them. And every one of them have been like, had I been more mature and to where I could have understood, I would have put this off in the future so that I could have finished maturing, so that I would have made better decisions. I could have truly had informed consent, because you can sign an informed consent sign, but if you don't really understand, you're not truly, informed. Therefore, you can't give consent. And this is going to create a whole big issue in the medical and mental health field. For a lot of providers, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. Naomi, I always tell people, if like families, if your first instinct when your child has a problem is to say, oh, let's take them to a therapist, wrong. Wrong. So I'm with you there. Go to people you trust. If you're a family, circle your wagons and talk to that kid and show them that you love them and talk to whoever's struggling. Try to handle it that way first, because can you imagine being that person that's struggling and your family say, oh, well, you need to go talk to a stranger? And it really is a head trip. If that's one of the biggest things that we would study and cover, is how to bridge that gap, because it's a huge gap to go across, and that's the longest time that a clinician spends with their patient, is bridging that gap. And a family doesn't even have to do that, and the problem could be solved, if it's a small problem, much more efficiently with a whole lot less hubbub and trauma. But we grew up in the land where, well, there's federal funding for this, there's a federal program for that, there's been federal programs for like 60 years now, but guess what? The family dynamic keeps getting more and more foobarred. So if it was working, don't you think it would be working by now? You do, don't you? It would be getting better, right? Yeah, but it's just getting worse. So I would tell parents all the time, well, what'd you do at home to try to handle this first before you came to me? Oh, nothing. No, we saw the problem, immediately said that we need to have a professional. And there are times and needs for professionals, but families, be a family, do the family thing. Families have become like WWE wrestling matches lately, instead of people that care about each other. I wish I could keep up with the comments. I'm trying to read them. Yeah, Rosa Sharon, that really scared me too, because that's like Orwell come to life big time. And they're prosecuting her. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to do anything out of line. They're going to have a reason for everything. We've given up so much in the last few years, and it's like, hello? Do y'all see what you're doing? Rosa Sharon, yeah, that was very, that was, yeah, the little Desmond boy that was a very difficult thing for me to see, because in one of his TV programs, he actually acts like he is snorting ketamine off of his hand or arm. He simulates snorting ketamine, which says that, kids learn by watching. So he has seen that. And I was like, what is this child around? What is this? You can try to spin a nice spin on it as much as you want to, but if a child is around adults that are doing that in front of them, the child is not around the appropriate adults. And we only had one big spat over here about the drag queen story hour, and I had people in my community ask about what I thought about it. It wasn't in my community; it was in the neighboring community. And so I got on the little talk thing, and I was like, okay, let's try to compromise. I said, you want to read stories to children? I said, the library says you have to read approved books. Y'all have amazing makeup talents and costume design talents. How about you pick one book a quarter, you create your own costume and makeup, and you come out as that book, that person in that book, that character, and you read that book as that character. No. Why no? That would be a great use of your skills. If you really just wanted to feel part of the community and interact, this would be a great way to use your skills and interact and still get to read a book to a kid. No. We get to dress in our drag and we get to read the books about our lifestyle. Whoa. Then it's not about the children, it's about you. No, it's about the children. No, it's about you. And I was like, peace out. There's no compromise here. If that is what is wanted, there's no compromise. Because if it was just about being integrated in the community, as they were saying, then that was a great compromise, right? Everybody won, even the kids. They got to see an amazing costume designer and makeup technician create a great character and put on a show. You know, it would have been great. No, they would no. And I was like, okay, well, this is not about the children, then it's about you. And they got irritated with me, but I was like, look, I'm all about trying to help. I said, but if there is no compromise, then you know, and then the parents are right. You have a motive, and if this is the only motive you have, I agree with parents. You know, as minors, they control what their children come in contact with, and if they don't want you reading to them, then they don't want you reading to them. And it caught a lot of people off guard because they thought that I would be like super lefty lib, you know, because of my background and training. But I was like, no, the kids should always come. The kids always come first. You know, the children should always come first. And when we've lost that here in this nation, And speaking of things we've lost in this nation, the Biden administration has lost 20,000 children, minors, that they took across the border, dispensed to safe homes. They've lost them. Don't know where they are. Can't even find some of the sponsors that they put them in the safe homes with. Just saying. I'm just saying. Are we really a nation that we're taking care of our kids and doing the right thing? Are we really? Oh my God, they're wanting them to get a face tattoo. Oh, that's hard one to come back from. I mean, when you're self-employed, it's easier, but it's hard to come back from. Like one of my bonus kids got a neck tattoo the other day, and I love him to death. And I told him, I said, don't get any more until you're established in what you're going to do. You know, because he's very likely to end up in the artsy-fartsy artist, guitar, songwriting world. I said, put him where you can cover him, where you can go to work and be professional until you are of such a status that you can maintain yourself and your bills, and then you can put him wherever you want to. But, you know, err on the side of caution. You know, I didn't get any on my arm that showed until after I had my master's. And I think I only had a wrist one, well, maybe 2 or 3 small wrist ones. I didn't start my sleeve until after I had to retire, when my neuromuscular disorder started affecting my organs, and they told me I was going to have to retire. I was just, I needed self-soothing. I went and worked on my sleeve. That was how I soothed myself. So, but isn't it, I mean, you go in and you look at people's comments on Ron's post and you see them stating an absolute absurdity, and it seems like they're okay with any animated behavior from him as long as it's entertaining. He's not a chicken on a frying pan. He's a human being. And he's struggling right now. And he's using a lot of coping skills, and he's using a lot of distraction, deflection techniques right now to get through something that's obviously hurting him very much. And it's for me, it's sad to see, because I know he's in a negative headspace, and I know that his fans are just pummeling love. And so this negative headspace is a juxtaposition. It's a paradox to him, because he's in a very negative headspace and he's having to cope himself out of it and distract himself out of it. But that's when his fans love him the most and attend to him the most and love bomb him the most. But when he's doing well and he quietens down in life and he's doing better, his fans don't offer that much. And it should be the other way around. Is when he's struggling, we should be more careful about what we say and not try to prompt more negativity. We've got it backwards. Sometimes people cheer him on. Thank you. I said all of that, and you just needed to say that. That's why discussion is so important. And so I'm just like, yeah, he's using coping mechanism absolutely the wrong way, but he doesn't know that, because I don't think he fully understands his self-soothing behaviors and his coping mechanisms. His art is a very positive coping mechanism that he uses. It's a very positive one. And you can see when he uses it positively, because life goes well and art happens periodically, and you get a very good stretch spell of okay. And then you can tell when he's kind of crashing and burning. You can start to see it. And then it's like he has to go balls to the wall, full on fun until he passes out to get through, a sad spell. And that, it may look fun to y'all watching from the outside, but I know he's hurting. I know he's hurting. And and it's sad to see people, like I spoke about the words that he stated, my concern about those, and the body language that he expressed. And I mean, it's just attacked. And then you have people coming in going, well, Nicole Arbor dropped a video. Well, Johnny Gobble dropped a video. Well, blah, blah, blah dropped a video. Well, yeah, because they're all monetized and wanting to make a buck. And if they are monetized and they're dropping videos, then, kind of take it as a half truth, or have a very good questionable, skepticism about saying. It's bad when someone is seen as a they're just a profitable person. They're not an individual that someone loves, cares for, or is committed to. They're profitable for me. So I'm gonna hang on to them. They're gonna stay in my realm. And so Nicole Arbor would literally keep a dead hairless cat that's been taxidermied on her team if she thought it was going to bring her $5 every quarter. And I just don't see a lot in that woman that I personally think benefits women altogether. Just sorry, I don't. And you don't have to agree with me. You can love her to death. That's for you to say. I personally just don't care for her. I don't care for the way she displays herself, her body. I don't care for the way that she tries to interact with people that are different, or she likes to attack others that have different mindsets. And then she says, go team, and then makes it a team event to go after people. And then when she gets a nugget into somebody, she gets a bite into somebody, she hangs into them either through a court process or by keeping to produce videos, making money. And it's just like, come on. Can you see what you're doing? Stop telling this woman she's great, Rosa Chernia. If Ryan just had a breakup and he's a lot of prayer and he's a lot of good energy, yeah, he's just a regular guy. I'm like I said yesterday, if they watch the entire video, you are senile and crazy. If they watch the video, they know that he has got such responsibility on his shoulders that concerns me, because he takes care of so many people and employs and maintains so many lives. I couldn't navigate his world. I can sit on the outside and see things he can't because of training and education. Could I physically step into his shoes and handle it? Probably not. But sometimes it takes both sides of the fence, to help straddle the fence to find the problem. So my dog is going crazy because apparently someone's driving down the road or next door, and he goes absolutely crazy when he thinks somebody's here. But anyway, that's where I am. That's what I saw. Nothing I said was said out of hate or to dismay or create frustration. I literally am just wanting people to be aware and look at this, especially with the statement about the substances, look at it through a very critical eye so that we don't have younger kids viewing that thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to do that too. Oh, no. Because that is something they can easily get. And they need to learn the structure. You need to meet the doctor. You need to be referred. You need to be assessed. They need to understand the process and how terribly serious it is to put a therapeutic intervention of any drug in your brain, in your body. And so we need to be careful with our words and how they affect other people. And, and I try to speak from a place of love and caring. And it seems like people really want to attack people that actually do care. And that's, our society is just backwards. It's just backwards right now. And, you can have a different thought, you can have a different frame of mind, and that's fine, and you can share it. But when you come on here as a 12 or 14 or 15-year-old and you tell me you're absolutely wrong, listen, honey, life's hard. It's harder when you remain ignorant. So open your eyes and listen to your elders. Take in some information that doesn't come out of this little box. Sit down with people older than you. Look at the world not through an iPhone lens. Get some real skills out there and really start to learn how to integrate as a society again. Because this internet crap, it's ruining everybody. It's ruining everybody. It can be used for great things. Don't. It could. But sadly, it only seems to amplify the bad. And that is just kind of where society's mindset is geared, and where the populace in control is geared, and where the intent of those in control is geared, and a lot of people just go bah and go on. And I'm sitting here going, no. Before your child downloads social media platforms, get them subscriptions to newspapers across the world. You can spend $5 a month, and they can literally read news from 6 countries. Or just get a VPN account and they can read news all across the world. Do things like that to introduce your child to the world before you allow them to see TikTok. Let them know about the real struggles in the world, where there is still slavery going on actively in the world, where there are people in places without clean water, where there are leaders still, leading from, the dark ages and killing people in the streets for, horrendous laws and religious differences and oppositions. Let your child know the deep, dark truth about how humanity has all these extra things. And then, let them see the real struggle and talk to them about different cultures and how we all kind of need to work together to make the world a better place, and how each culture has a strength and a weakness. But, as long as we identify that, we can all work together. Because if the first thing you show them is TikTok, and that's what they think the real world is, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Your daughter's 34, so that's great. Like, my daughter is 20, almost 24, and only has what social media is so she can keep up with me, and so she can video call me. She hates social media, and I love that. And my daughter is also, she's in the vet world, so she's animal inclined, livestock inclined. She's out in the fresh air, the grass, and with animals, and so she's in a better way. And my son's an arborist, and so he's, I guess I have 2 old soul children, but I went to school. I went the whole way, and I cut my hair going for my doctorates, and I thought, no, I'm done. And it was because my neuromuscular disorder was starting to present so much, and it was before I was diagnosed. I thought, why am I so tired? All I did was go to school full time, work full time, raise 2 kids, run a marriage. And then I was just getting tired and more tired and more tired and more tired. And finally, when I put in my application for graduate school, and I said, no, I can't do this. I'm done. I'll just work under a licensed professional in a clinical program. That's fine. I really thought I would stay in forensic psychology in the corrections world anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. But as my neuromuscular disorder got worse and I started having issues with my legs and walking, the Department of Corrections saw me as a liability and wanted me gone because I supervised the violent offenders. And so I ended up going back to counseling and back to, what I was really good at, which was kids with trauma backgrounds, drug addiction, and violent outburst. And I did that for the last several years before I had to hang everything up. So Best thing your parents ever did was take you to a third world country. Yeah. Well, I'm from Appalachia, which is basically a third world country. I grew up poor, but I saw people help each other, and I saw good boundaries. I saw healthy boundaries. You know, fence row is a great thing. It can be explained in a plethora of ways to a young mind. But I also saw people bring potlucks over when they had deaths in the family, and people raise the barns together. Even Mennonite, Amish, and English working together. I was able to see a whole. Appalachia is not as homogenous as people think it is. So I was allowed to see all these things. And my dad was a blacksmith and a farrier, so he grew up in horse barns, and he worked a very hard job. Well, I was at Amazon. I halter broke show cattle and trained horses, and showed sheep as well and raised sheep. And so I was making good money as a teenager, and I would help my dad shoe horses. He would shoe the front ends, I would shoe the back ends, and that would save him some work and some strain. And now we both have similar knees and hips. It's horrible. My neuromuscular disorder has allowed mine to advance, and so now my hips and knees look like my dad's hips and knees. It's so sad. But I grew up doing a lot of hard work, and I watched my mother want to go to college so bad. She didn't graduate until she was 36, but she wanted, and she made it happen, and she got through. And so when I wanted to go to school, I was like, by God, if I want to do it, I'll do it. And I got through, and I worked the whole way. And you get such a rich view of the world from Appalachia. And a lot of people say, oh, there's not a lot there. But what there is here is the last really connected communities in the nation. People that don't know what social media is, don't know what the internet is, still sit on front porches to visit people, and still know all their neighbors' names, kids, dogs, grandma's cousins, and that's a wealth in its own right. Because every person that you know like that is a lifeline, is an outreach, and that's what we're lacking. So kids feel alone when someone gives them a viewpoint they don't want to hear. Then they attack them because they're so okay with being alone that they can't even process or absorb and contemplate another viewpoint. We've got to work on it. Appalachia needs a lot of good people. It really does. That's why when I went and got my education, I always came back to work. I tried to never work where I lived until they made me fill in for a lady that retired. I always tried to work around my county, and so I did a big rotation. But the last year, I had to work where I lived because of a lady that retired abruptly, and they had to slide me over to babysit a parole caseload. But Appalachia needs a lot of good people with good hearts, but I think we're really like a sleeper stronghold of the nation. I really think we are, because we still know what it's like to knock on a neighbor's door and ask for help. Can I use the phone? I got my truck stuck. Can you pull me out of the ditch? We still do these things, and like I said yesterday, the loneliest I've ever felt was in the middle of a urban city street with probably 500 to 1,000 people walking around me in a tourist place. I felt so alone. And I thought, my God, and I've traveled a lot. And I thought, my God, why do people live in places where it's an ant farm, but you're alone? You're like the solitary ant. You try to say hello to people and they just scoff at you. And it's like, come on now. This is not how the world's going to get better. North Louisiana. I don't know if I could take the heat down there. I honestly, sometimes I'm like, I need to move farther south for my health. But then during the August, I'm like, no, I don't think I could do it. But my daughter is in southern Georgia, and she's loving it so far. She messaged me the other day, and it was like 9 degrees here, and she's like, and I'm going to work in shorts. I was like, okay, you win. Oh, Trace Adkins is. Oh, he's just a man's man. Trace had a rough life. Like, bless his heart. Been shot a couple times. Had a lot of Didn't like get run over by a tractor or something. But he's just a man's man. Ain't nothing wrong with Trace Atkins. Nothing I can find wrong with Trace Atkins. He's a pretty man. Of course, my husband looks like, what is it, Grizzly Adams. So if you want to see what my husband looks like, you can go to the couples chats, the couples lives. We try to do one every Sunday when we're able. And he's a trapper and tanner and works full time and helps take care of me. I mean, he's an amazing guy. The sweetest, kindest guy. Looks evil. I'm the mean one, really, but he looks evil. But he is the sweetest guy, but I certainly would never want to make him mad because his hands are as big as my head. I mean, he doesn't wear a wedding band anymore. We've gone through so many of them. I refuse to put it back on him. But he wears like a size 14, 15 wedding band. I would hate to piss him off. But we've been married 20 years, so. But we do a couples check-in, and he runs an Etsy store. It's called Hillbilly Heart Decor, where he sells his fur and fur items. And sometimes I'll do some art for, like, my physical therapy, and my doctor says it's really good for me. And I like to create stuff. I'm part Cherokee, so I like to make some of the ceremonial sticks for some of the tribes around here and stuff. And if my hands are able, it's good for me to do. And sometimes he'll be like, that turned out really pretty. Can I swap that? And I'll be like, yeah, just buy me some more crafting items. So, but he's got an Etsy store called Hillbilly Heart Decor. And he's on Facebook as Hillbilly Furs. And he just started a YouTube channel for his trapping. And he's just starting to really learn how to talk to the camera. Bless, he's trying so hard. And it is Trapper Dave. So it was DNL Trapping with Trapper Dave, but I shortened it because it was so hard to find. So it's just Trapper Dave. So, thank you, Gypsy. Gypsy's tossing stuff up for me. Tracy's parents, my next door neighbors. Aren't you lucky? He just seems like a real solid guy. I mean, everybody, the only thing that we all share in common is dysfunction. We're all dysfunctional on some level. So anybody claiming that they have the perfect life and they never screw up anything, or liar, pants on fire. Because the only thing we all do share as human beings is dysfunction. We're all dysfunctional on some level, at some capacity, and at certain times way worse than others. So, we all have these issues, and it's how we handle them and how we handle them together that really helps us. And I don't see anyone helping anyone together anymore. I just see people wanting to benefit from others' harm or hurt or emotional pain. And let's start helping. Let's start talking about it. And if you have a background and you have a career or you have experienced it yourself, you have a voice, share it. And yeah, you're going to get some hate. You're going to find some people that are as ugly as the southern side of a northbound mule. You're just going to find some of them. It's okay. It's okay. They live in the world too. Bless their hearts, Lord love them. But also the only way that we can kind of show them and kind of role model appropriate behavior is to get on here and show them that we care about each other and start to interact appropriately so that maybe they pick up on some of those cues and they learn to, interact appropriately and do nicer things for each other. So, we need to take care of each other more. I don't know. I was just raised, and my mom was a huge supporter of Appalachia and all the positives of Appalachia. She did an Appalachia program with her 5th grade class for like 20 years. And they would go over and perform at Dollywood and at the Museum of Appalachia. And they were on the news for years and years and years in Nashville. And she just wanted to keep all the positives alive in Appalachia. And that was the community and all the different cultures that are here. People think Appalachia is just all rednecks. It's not. We've got so many different people here. And, this used to be a hidey hole for some of the most interracial mixed communities. And people are like, nuh-uh. I'm like, go read about the Melungeons. Go look up the Melungeon bloodline and how it came to be in Appalachia. Appalachia was a great place that was just a conglomerate where everybody got together and said, hey, the world screwed us all. Let's be happy and make it a better place. And Appalachia for a long time was a happy place until the government found out how rich Appalachia was in resources. And then I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. So that's when things started going downhill for Appalachia. But, there's still a lot of positives in this area. And that's why I'm always going to be like repping for Ron and being on his bragging team, because he is a musical genius. He's a lyrical genius. He is so talented, and I don't, I am only critical of things that I'm concerned about because I know how much he has within him, but I also can see the struggle from years, decades, and careers and education and training, and I see it. And so don't want to be critical and mean about it. I want to help. I want to help. Yeah, Sharon, the government scares the crap out of me. I don't know when Merrick, the FBI guy, Merrick Garland, when he put out all the flags that were supposed to be like for naughty people, I had already had all but one of them. So I went and bought the other one online just so I would be well represented and have all the flags. Just so there would be no question. Be like, if they come down my driveway, check, and check. I was like, I don't want to miss that one check mark. I am type A. We're going to get that one check mark. So I have all the flags, and it's like, none of them are mean or hateful. It's just, historical flags. And I was just like, well, he put that one on the list. Now I've got to get it. So, yeah, like people think the South has racial hate, but it's very much opposite here. Like last week, one of my best friends from another county called. She's like, "Can you come watch my girls?" She's married. She's I forget where she's from. I think she's from Chicago. She's black. She's from Chicago. She's married to a white man in the neighboring county. I met her because she worked at the hospital during one of my hospitalizations, and she was so sweet, and she was about to pop with one of the girls, and the little girl was due on my daughter's birthday. So and I was there for 8 days that time. We just bonded, and so after I left, we just stayed in touch. She became a really close friend. And she called me and she was like, "Can you come watch the girls?" And I was like, "Honey, if I was healthy enough to get there, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I am not healthy enough." And I was like, "I am so sorry." She's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were sick. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "I'm just having a rough spell right now." And if I could have been there, I'd watch them girls in a heartbeat because they're beautiful and I love them. My health doesn't allow me. But there's so much here in Appalachia that people don't know. And I'm like, I've got friends and family in Australia. I've got friends in Prague. It's just like I've got friends in England, in Ireland. I've got friends all across the globe, and people look at me and they're like, "Well, you're just a little redneck. You don't know anything about the world." And I'm like, okay, that's what you think. You go right ahead and think that. It's fine. I was in the hospital one time, and the nurses were being very just belligerent, hateful to me. And I have got a lot of tattoos, and I've got one tattoo of Freddie Mercury on my left bicep because Queen was my music growing up. That was one of my coping skills growing up, was Queen. I love their music. And in 2016, my husband, that was when I was forced to retire, the year after I was forced to retire, my husband bought me a ticket to a North American Queen convention, which I didn't even know occurred because I worked so much my whole life. He wanted me to go before my health got really bad. Well, I went, walked through the door and literally ran smack into Peter Freestone, who worked with Freddie for the last 12 years of his life, took care of him as he died. He had locked himself out of his room, and I was like, "Well, you're a world traveler. Ain't you supposed to know how to do better than that?" He goes, "Yeah, I guess I am." And I said, "Oh, I'm just Josh." And I said, "I don't even know how to check in at a hotel." And he goes, "Well, just stand by me. I've got you covered." And he got his key replaced, and he said, "Oh, I need to help you." I said, "Oh, I'll figure it out." And he goes, "Well, would you like to sit down and talk?" And I was like, "No, it's just 1:30. This shindig don't start till 3. Go rest." And he was like, "Thank you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll catch you later." He pulled me to his table at dinner that night as a thank you for not, I guess, hogging his time. And I got to eat dinner with him. And I got to know him. And over that weekend, we bonded. We became really great friends. We swapped information. We kept in touch. And it's so weird for me because some mornings I'll be laying in bed and all of a sudden my iPad will go. Oh, shut up, Oscar. That was me. And my husband will go, it's 9 a.m. It's Phoebe. And it's because Freddie called Peter Freestone Phoebe. And I'll go, oh, it is Phoebe. And I'll answer because, you know, he's over in the Czech Republic. So I always get early morning calls from him. And my husband is just like, tell Phoebe to call later next time. That's how often we talk. It's so funny. And I pinch myself every day. And you know, but I was in the hospital one time and he actually did a video call because I was like, the nurses are really hateful over here. I was like, and they're making fun of my queen tattoos. And I was like, I'm going to be here for a long time. I was really sick. Like I was really sick that time. And he was like, when are they supposed to come back and check on you? And he's like, when they come back to check on you, he's like, send me a thumbs up. And he video called. And they hear this accent come through and they're like, who is that? I was like, oh, it's my friend. They're like, you have a friend that speaks? I'm like, oh yeah, here, look. And they were like, oh, because one was like, she was like, I'm a huge Queen fan, you know, and I was like, I am too, you know, and of course, you know, she was the biggest Queen fan ever, you know, and she was just mean to me. And as soon as she saw him, she just softened and was so nice and polite and kind. And for the rest of my stay, she was great. And I was like, well, doggone it, I'll just let you call my nurses and say hi and schmooze them every time. It was so much fun, though. It was really, I think it scared them. They were like, holy crap, she told the truth. But he's the sweetest man. He's the sweetest man. And he has been very aware that Appalachia creates a very specific type of person that still has a very specific type of heart. And he's like, I travel the world. He's like, Elizabeth, I'm all over the world. And before all of this crap, he was, because he was running the AIDS Titanic Freddie program and doing a bunch of music stuff. And he would be in South America one week and he would be in Spain the next week. And I mean, he was just all over. And he was, every time he would check in, he was somewhere else, like a ping pong ball. And he was like, I'm just here to tell you. He was like, you have a special place. He's like, you have a special soul in that place. And I do. I think Appalachia has a very special soul. And I don't think it gets the recognition it deserves. And that's why I'm so absolutely out there pumping out the artists that come from this area. Talented people from this area, like JJ Lawhorn. I love JJ and Kelsey. JJ has got the most beautiful family. I love his music. I love his grit. I love that he is himself and he has no desire to be anyone else. I love JJ for that. And that's one of the reasons I want Jonah to continue his music journey. And if you're wondering who Jonah is, he's one of my bonus kids. I have so many bonus children. And if you'll go back in my lives, in my videos, you'll see the musical world of Jonah, and then you'll see a live where we do like an hour and a half set and Jonah like takes requests. Jonah's super talented. Oh my gosh. Jonah's amazing. And he's only 18. And so I was so glad to turn 18. I was like, I could share you with other people now. So I could put him online. And he's so talented. And he's been talented since he was literally 10 years old. He just picked up a guitar one day, ran across a Stevie Ray Vaughan video, and it all began. And, you know, he's just a beautifully talented, just gifted. And he sings like, oh my gosh. I mean, he's talented. So I want to put these people on display because they have these beautiful qualities and skills and talents and these beautiful souls. And that's why I'm constantly, you know, as much of a supporter of Ryan, I'm also someone watching him going, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, come on, hang in there. Don't, you know, because I want to see him, you know, have a full career, a long lasting career, a happy career. And I expect a lot of him because I see the talent and the capability within him. I mean, he's just astonishing. And I don't want to see him grounded by something that maybe a few words or a little bit of aid from someone could have helped. It's just that our society is not set up for that right now. And so many people miss out on those interpersonal connections and communications that change lives. Sometimes when you have a really good talk with somebody, it can change your whole establishment with the world. And we don't have those anymore. Yeah, I'm very much an empath. Yeah, very much. Sometimes too much to where like it hurts me. I think that's a lot of why my body broke down as much as it did, because I worked in such emotionally crippling careers for so long. When you're walking murder scenes and doing pre-sentence investigations on murders for the judge and dealing with victims' families, and it'll get to you. I still wake up some nights and see autopsy photos in my brain, and it's just like, shut the door back, Elizabeth. Compartmentalize better. Woo. So, yeah, I'm very much a mama bear. I am. Yeah, he needs love. Like, he needs love. He doesn't need like endorsement for what he's doing, because let him cope however he needs to cope. He just needs love. He just needs to be reminded, we're here for you. Take your time. Process this in the healthiest way you can. And if you need help, reach out. We're here for you. Instead of, people like the get a face tattoo. I mean, it's like, stop. We all know he's probably not super stable right now. And we don't need to push him over the ledge. He's a person. He's a person. You wouldn't want someone to take advantage of your, emotional time and push you over the edge. Oh, you have lupus. They thought I had lupus for a long time. I thought I had MS and lupus. And finally, it took 6.5 years and they finally diagnosed me. I have reflex sympathetic dystrophy, which is like MS's ugly red-headed cousin. So it affects my bowels and basically my digestive tract and my pancreas now, as well as my legs. But the original trauma came from when I worked at a wilderness boot camp as a counselor. I had a boy throw an axe at me. We were cutting timber for cabins and he threw an axe at me. He was not happy that day. He hadn't been there very long, so I didn't press charges. He's now like 36 and still calls and checks on me. So he's done pretty good too since then. He said having to watch me heal after that was what really changed his ways. It was either stay with us till he's 21 or go to prison as an adult. And so he'd been there about 2.5, 3 weeks, and we were cutting timber, and he was not supposed to be around the axe. And he took the axe, and I had to get the other 13 kids away from him, get the other female, a counselor, away because she was 110 pounds soaking wet. And I was trying to de-escalate him, and he chucked the axe at me. And I had a bunch of surgeries, went through a lot of physical therapy, and then went to work in the corrections world for about a decade. And then when the neuromuscular stuff started presenting super, super bad, I started slowing down in the corrections field and transitioning back over into counseling. But while I was in corrections, I still did cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff like that. So I was still using my degree in that way too. It was fun. He threw the axe at me, and it hit my foot, and it smashed everything. I was lucky it didn't rotate on over. It would have probably took my foot off. It smashed the nerve bundle, the bones. I had 18 things wrong at the first MRI, and after they said they'd fixed all they could, at the last MRI, I still had 11 things wrong. So my foot is like foobar. But when it smashed my foot, and he realized that he hadn't hurt me, which he was very lucky, but he realized that it had crushed my foot, but it hadn't like chopped into me. He kind of looked up at me, and I looked at him. I went, "Oh, son," because it pissed me off. You don't throw crap at me. So he ran. It took him an hour and a half to recover him, and it took me 3 hours to get out of the woods and to a doctor's office. And it was a rough day. It was a very rough day. So, and I had to have a lot of surgeries. It was not fun. I think I've had 4 or 5 to date now. So, and I really need to have another, but I'm at the point now where it's like, if I have it, it'll last maybe for 10 months. Then I'll have to have it refixed. And I'm just kind of like, I'll just wait for the replacement. If they choose to do a replacement because of my RSD, but they may not. Yeah, he was not a bad kid. He just had never had any positive role modeling and structure. And once he got structure, he was fine. And he's once he saw someone have to mend from the harm, because he was very assaultive, abusive. Once he saw somebody have to mend from the damage that he caused, I think that's what struck him. So yeah, I will still get emails and check-ins and calls. So well, you're doing great. Latin will help out in so many ways. You have, I mean, between the medications and then the just learning, because at the root of everything in any country, the root of anything is going to be Latin. So once you start learning, you can read any research from any country and understand what they're saying, because you'll have that Latin basis. That's going to help you a whole lot. Oh, bless your heart. You know, there's probably still a whole lot you can do. I feel useless now because I was used to working 80 hours a week, and now it's like my body doesn't work for like days at a time and doesn't function well at all now. So I feel very useless because I was always going 100 miles an hour. I think my hope is that with my degree, I can work under any licensed professional in a physical setting. And I did the same thing as any clinician. They just have to sign off on my treatment plans. And I think that they will eventually reduce or ease up on the online requirements and make it kind of the same way. You can have, instead of everyone being online having to be licensed, there will be subgroups where so many can work under a licensed. And if they do that, I would like to go back and maybe counsel a little bit. I can't do a whole lot. You know, I would only be able to take on a few clients, but it would be nice to be able to be useful again. Oh gosh, Kay, we've talked about everything. It's been a doozy, but it's been a good one. I felt a little bit better tonight, so. But I do need to put up that short so that y'all can see the body language. Now they did cut too short. If you find the whole video, go back and watch the whole video and watch his arms, and he touches his face a lot, breaks from the video, and it's just not your normal. It's just not your normal video. And, you know, so if you can find the whole one, go watch the whole one. But I'm going to put up the short so that you can see the video. And watch the blinking. A lot of blinking, faster blinking normally means I'm stressed or I'm uncomfortable. Stress the forehead, wrinkling, stress in the nose. Anytime that somebody breaks, and especially in a certain way, the way he broke, it was an emotional break. So he's going to a memory, and you can see the sadness, and he self-soothes during the memory, and he self-soothes and looks away. And so he has an emotional break, doesn't want to be held 100% accountable on that one. And then he does a grin, and that was an adapter to make people think, oh, I'm good. I'm good, but he's not good. So the body language read very, he felt very isolated and sad about whatever memory came from him talking about that drug use in that studio. And I think it was just, he was sad to say it, but boy's been pretty honest, I think, with the stuff he shared. So, but you just kind of have to watch it, and you have to, look for the little things. I've got a really great friend that is just finishing her licensure, and we had great ideas about tag teaming a lot of the smaller, more rural areas in the counties, but my health is not going to allow me to do it. I had so many big dreams. Now I'm like, man, if I'd known my body was going to crap out, if I'd known I was, that event was going to eventually lead to this disorder, I wouldn't have spent 6 years in college. I would have spent those 6 years with my kids. But you just never know, but there may be a bigger reason, that, there may be my friends keep telling me, you're still helping people, just by getting on here and talking, you're still helping people. So, but I feel guilty sometimes that I took so much time away and was in school for 6 years and not always making dinner and stuff, and so I feel kind of guilty sometimes about that. I think any parent that has to, like cut up their life like that always does. Okay, well, I think we've had a pretty positive discussion. I just wanted to, bring on a secondary discussion based on kind of some of the feedback. Watch the feedback, and you can tell, if you come out there and you try to, thank you. I try to be encouraging and informative, and I try not to have personal digs or and I really am doing it from a place of concern and care. And people will attack that before they'll ever go after somebody filled with hate that is truly in the wrong and hurting somebody. They will go after the kind person, because they think kindness is a weakness. So watch as people, will continue trying to rip what I'm saying or turn what I'm saying or twist, or just a 12-year-old tell me you're wrong, and it's just like, we have got to learn to communicate, people. Our nation depends on it. We are failing ourselves. And we've got to learn to care for each other. And that means everyone. Like a target, yeah. We've got to, really start, putting those ties that bind back together and getting away from this little box, even though it's been helpful here tonight, getting away from this little box and getting back to where we really have those interpersonal relationships and that true contact with other people. That's what helps. And we've got to learn how to have dialogue and negotiate and disagree, but find equal ground. You can disagree and say something really nasty, but there's this thing called sandwiching sayings. If I have to say something, like if I ever had to say something really upsetting or negative to someone, I would always try to put it between two nicer things, and sandwich it. And it's just things that you learn from years of interaction and years of wanting to be comfortable in groups of people, because groups of people, you're physically there. You have to handle whatever response you get. So you learn to handle people more effectively and more appropriately. And I just wish that we could get back to that and role model that for these younger kids so that they could also have those behaviors and have that insight and have those coping mechanisms and skills and that comfort, that knowledge that, there's people on here, but I got people. If I turn this off, I've got people in the next room that love me. And, the breakdown of the family has been a horrible, horrible thing. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you shine a light, somebody's going to come try to put a bushel on it. Is that what it is? Yeah. I'm going to start singing. You are crazy tonight, Oscar. I'm going to start singing Sunday school songs here in a minute. Come here and show them how crazy you are. Say I'm a crazy old man. Oh, gosh. Where are you going? Oh. I wanted Sugars. He's my little hairball. He's a little Shih Tzu pug mix. He is absolutely crazy. I did a live last night where I first discussed it and then come back tonight and did this one. And as soon as I get off here, I'm going to upload the one short that I found where somebody caught the behavior that I was talking about. And I'm going to upload that so that you can see the behavior I was talking about. Oscar's like, I really want somebody to come visit me. But I'll upload that so you can also see the behavior and look at his face. Look at it's where the eyes focus, when they're focused, what words he's saying, where they're focused. Look at the tension in the forehead and all that shift and change. Tension here. Watch his eyes cut, and he breaks from contact when he says that. But then he inward, and you can tell he's having like an emotional thought with that. Like he's going back to a memory, and then he does this smile to kind of throw you off, like, I'm cool, I'm good. You can tell he's not good in that moment. So something about divulging that information was uncomfortable. But he said it, so I'm gonna, he put it out there. I'm gonna talk about it. But as that went on, he did a lot of touching his face, and that is normally, I have more to say, but don't focus on what I'm saying right now, and it's just it's in body language is what we call an adapter, and it's a behavior that tells us there's something else going on, and that adapter is being used to throw off the people you're talking to. Rosa Sharon singing the songs for me. Oh, thank you. I try. I know, Million Mile. It's been horrible, hasn't it? Oh, well, I try to be a place of reason. I don't let people get too nasty. I mean, I might try to talk them through it for a few minutes, but if they don't calm down and want to communicate, I just send them on their merry way. But I do like this to be a place where you can sit down, get a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and just kind of feel like you're chatting with a friend and talking things through. You know, I don't bring notes and I don't bring bullet points. I just sit down and talk because I want it to feel like a chat. I want everything I'm telling you is coming from years of a career and education and knowledge and all this useless information in my head that I can't take out. So I want to share it if it can help somebody. But I want it to be a kind place where even if you disagree, even if you disagree respectfully, that's fine. Now, if you're disrespectful, I'll just send you on your merry way. But for most people, this is kind of a soft place to land, especially with the YouTube streets being as nasty as they are. Oh, thank you, Rosa Sharon. I appreciate that. And as my health gets better, I'll get back to doing my other stuff. And I like to craft, but I just like to chew the fat, talk about things, because I think that's what we are missing right now as a society is communication. And so I like to get on here and talk about things that other people won't talk about. YouTube loves to strike me because of it, but it's okay. It is nice to decompress. Yeah, and it's useful for me as well. Yeah, it's useful for me as well. So y'all help me just as much as I help y'all. So it's definitely an energy swap. So I really appreciate yous as well. But yeah, a lot of people don't have. It used to be you stop by and see a friend on the way home, or stop by the grocery store and have a little conversation that will just kind of let your mind defrag. We don't have that anymore. We have grocery pickup, school line pickup. We never really interact anymore. We never just happen to come across people to communicate with, and that's why I do my channel in this structure. That, and I can talk the hind leg off a mule. So, yeah, my nursing care starts next week, so I think my routine will become more concrete next week as my nurse gets established. So I think that will be a good thing. So you'll probably be seeing me more. And as my health gets better, we'll start going back to doing some crafting and some native projects and some stuff like that. But if anyone wants to help my hubby, Trapper Dave, he's got his own channel. You can also go to his Etsy store, which is Hillbilly Heart Decor. And he sells his furs that he traps, and he's got garment quality beaver and raccoon right now. He's got display quality coyotes, and then he's got some of the gnomes that I made, and some other stuff. You just kind of have to go through his store. He makes trinket boxes out of beaver logs. I don't know if he sold all of those or not, but he does a lot of stuff. And I sometimes do some coyote tooth jewelry and stuff. And I need to keep my hands working as long as I can, because that's what is starting to have a tremor now. So I'm doing a lot of crafting at home to keep my hands moving. So, and I give him certain pretty things, and I'm like, I trade you this if you'll take me to Hobby Lobby. So that's how I get my craft supplies, so I can keep working my hands. So, oh, Rose Sharon, I couldn't be quiet if I wanted to. Good Lord, have to take me home to shut me up. I'm just built that way. So, and sometimes I don't get it right. And so, and if I don't, I'll come back and tell you and say, I got it wrong, or I learned this. Let me tell you about this painful lesson. And I don't mind telling you at all, because what is life is not one big learning experience. My gosh, we might as well all learn together, share what we're learning. I mean, this is one test we probably do need to help each other cheat on a little bit. So I'm pretty laid back, but I knew that I would irritate some people last night. But just watch the comments under Brian's videos now. The videos where you can tell he is emotionally struggling the most, they'll love bomb those. It's almost like they're addicted to him being unstable. Like, that's the favorite side of him. And I'm like, you do know that's the most harmful side for him, mentally, emotionally. And it just concerns me with, that paired with the concerns that I had that we've spoken about twice now. That's just my concern. And I just have to speak my concerns. And I know that if he sees it, he will know it's from a place of concern and love. But this is also a great learning event for younger people and a lot of the younger fans. And it's a great life lesson. Hello, let's take a moment, stop and talk about this and realize that some of this, even though, our idols showing us these behaviors, sometimes these behaviors are not as healthy. No matter who they come from, they may not be healthy. And we need to talk about that, because imitation, is big for pubescent children. And that is a huge portion of his fan base. So we have to do what's right for him, the fans watching him, especially the younger ones, and what's on our conscience. So, but I will never fictitiously make crap up, and I will always try to reference you back to specific words or specific body language. And so I'll upload that just as quick as I get Oscar outside and can get that uploaded. I am in Podunk, so it will take a moment to upload. But I'll get it uploaded and watch it and start to pay attention. And then go back and look at some of his reels on Instagram. Is that what they're called? Reels? Really, social media. But watch the little videos, and you can see adapters over the last few months that have become more consistent and less straight on, more hat moving, blocking the face, cutting the eyes. It's just, there's been a change in the way that he portrays himself, and there is a psychological reason for that. Yeah, Rosa Sharon, and insomnia is a booger, because I'm an eternal never sleeper. I think it's because I was up for so many years reading. I had so much homework and work, and then homework, and then I'd have to type papers, and I was constantly awake, and I would read at night to put myself to sleep. Well, now my eyes are so bad I can't really read, and it's like I lost my coping skill that put me to sleep. I would read research studies, or peer-reviewed journals to fall asleep, and now I can't because my eyes are so freaking bad. And my husband's like, you don't sleep anymore. And he's like, is the moment you couldn't read at night? And he's like, you stopped sleeping. And I was like, yes, I know. I'm very aware of that. And so there are days that, I will come on here and tell you, I'm not conducive to society today because I have not slept. So insomnia is a booger. Million Mile, yeah. It's real sad. It's very sad. But a lot of people just like what they can get out of others, just for entertainment purpose only. And we've got to hold our society more accountable than that. So that's what I hope I'm just starting to build that momentum. So, but I'm going to shut up because now I'm making myself tired again. But I did better than last night. Yay. So that's a good thing, right? I had a complete hysterectomy at 30. Boy, dropping my transmission was the best thing I ever did. At my 2-week appointment, my doctor was like, do you have any questions? Because I had not had any problems. And I was like, yeah, I have a question. He was like, oh, God, she has a question. And I was like, can I go fishing this weekend if I feel like it? And he was like, yes, you're healed enough. You can go fishing if you feel like it. But we never put me back on estrogen because estrogen does not jive with me, and there was a history of cancer in my family. So if they put me on estrogen, it would have amplified my cancer likelihood. So I, at age 30, did hysterectomy with no estrogen. But where I guess I've been a rough and tumble tomboy my whole life, it was, other than getting hot flashes for a few nights, it was kind of like I just settled down. I was like, dang, that estrogen's a kicker. I was like, I am glad to be rid of that. So, and my husband is like, we went back to for a checkup, like a 3-month checkup. And the doctor was like, are you sure you don't want to go back on estrogen? My husband was like, no, no. He's like, never put that back in her body ever again. I was like, yeah, I'm a much more pleasant person now. It was a rough time. It was a rough time. I had, that's when I had, right after that injury, I had a lot of stuff go wrong and my body just broke down. It was rough. But my gynecologist didn't know what to think about me. I just wanted to go fishing. It was springtime. I wanted to go fishing. Crappie were biting. Y'all understand? I just wanted to go fishing. And I wanted to go back to work too, but I really wanted to go fishing. So, okay, I'm going to shut up now and I'll get everything uploaded since I let Oscar out. I appreciate you spending your time with me because time is one thing you can't get back. So thank y'all for spending your time with me. I appreciate every one of you. Just have a editing eye on the internet and Instagram over the next few days and watch people that are in moments of crisis and watch how people respond. Watch people that are having moments of love and watch how people respond. It's backwards. They hate people that are kind and they love people that are mean. And they seem to love people that are, about to walk over an edge, but they hate people that have found firm ground. And it's just like society. Get your crap together. Of course, with leaders like ours in our nation who could blind leading the blind. Swanee, I used to have a goat that you could give it a lead line and it would lead the horses to the cross tie. And I swear I think that goat had more smarts than any congressman we've got in Congress right now. That's a smart goat. Maybe we need some goats in Congress. It's an idea. I'll leave you on that one. Bye, guys.